Best New Artist has never been more competitive. From breakout artists having massive hits to longtime musicians finally getting that mainstream recognition they deserve. We have a girl group nominated for the first time in 10 years. We have two boys nominated with the two biggest songs when a boy hasn't won in 8 years. And even artists like Addison Rae, who pulled off the rebrand of a century and sold the world on her vision as more than just a creator, but a true artist with a vision that is here to stay. There is truly no clear frontrunner the way that there has been for most years in the past. So I thought it would be interesting to sit down and look at the data. Who actually has the biggest song, the biggest album, the biggest listeners, and find out who is most likely to win. Why would they win? What was their big cultural moment? Or if not, what is holding that artist back? What did they miss to really break through to that next pedestal and win? And after that, we're going to lock in our prediction for what I think is going to be the best new artist. So with that, welcome back to Nikki and I. I am your host, Nikki Reardon. Long time awaited Grammy episode, as I have gotten many, many requests to do. I don't know. I just feel like I talked about it so much on like TikTok and stuff that I kind of like felt that I said all that I needed to say for the time. But now I really want to talk about Best New Artist. It is my favorite category. If y'all have known as a longtime viewer of the show, I think it's by far the most interesting. I think it's by far the hardest to predict the nominees for. I think it's the hardest to pick the winner for. Granted, some years, like last year, I just knew Chapel was going to win. But, you know, this is a year that's so exciting. I also think what's really cool about Best New Artist as a category is it's one of the few genres where they really intentionally cast like genre diversity or really, really try to make it a broad spectrum reflective of who is up and coming in music and all of their respective scenes, which is one of the very interesting things I want to talk about. No rap artists this year and no country artists this year, which is crazy. Like those are the two definitively biggest genres outside of pop. And for that to not happen is really, really insane. Granted, like a lot of the people here did have like some bigger moments and songs and things than some other artists, but that really shocked me. And it's an interesting state of music, you know, that the fact that the entire Recording Academy couldn't find a unanimous rapper or country artist that qualified for Best New Artist this year to rally around in that way. I don't know. I just think it's a very, very fascinating thing. We're seeing so much of music shift and change that I wanted to talk about this and go through all of the nominees. Hey, don't forget to subscribe to the show while you're here. You know, I did see an interesting statistic on my YouTube studio that like 90% of the people who have ever watched my videos have not hit the subscribe button. So check if you have, you know, come join, come hang out. I'm going to talk about the Grammys more. We love music here. I got good stuff coming up. I want to talk about Marty Supreme. Like, come hang out. Hey, follow the Spotify too. Follow us on Apple Pods, whatever you got to do. You know, you can listen to all of the audio versions of these episodes on your car ride to work, at the gym. It is such a huge thing for supporting it. Seriously, please, if you're listening on Spotify now, make sure that you're following there also. Again, another statistic. Oh, speaking of Spotify, we got Spotify Wrapped. I was the #1 show for 42,000 people. That's crazy. That's crazy. I cried. I seriously cried. And so many people like tag me on their stories and stuff and sharing that. And it's just the most amazing thing ever. I can't believe I was so shocked. I was so shocked because like the show on Spotify only has 15,000 followers. Like people don't really follow on Spotify as a metric. They just like tune in every once in a while. You know what I mean? And I was blown back. I could not believe it. And it was like just, I can't put into words how much it meant to me and how much people spend time with me, how much time with me. Like you're changing my life, dude. Thank you. I love doing this. And that's why I really want to, you know, continue growing like the podcast version and stuff like that. So we can get more guests and get more support and production support. So I can do more episodes and you know what I mean? Just all of that. Like the more it grows, the bigger it gets and the more that can happen with it. And I was so honored. I just love it also when you guys like tag me on your stories and stuff. I love to see like how you are when you are like watching the episode or listening to the episode. Like people will like show they're like eating dinner or something while watching. I love it. Please do it. Please tag me. If I ever see them, I always try to repost them because it just makes me so happy. So yeah, do it. Tag me on Instagram. If you do, say hi, share your Spotify Wrapped if I was in it. With that, we're going to talk about some best new artists this year. Okay. There are 8 of them. I'm going to talk about it from a data perspective, also a bit from a culturally perspective. So we're going to start with Sombr. Sombr has 53 million monthly listeners. He peaked around 60, which is, I believe, the highest on this list, which is very, very impressive. His biggest song is Back to Friends with 1.4 billion streams. His second biggest song is Undressed with 600 million streams. However, his second fastest growing song is 12 to 12, which is like maybe my favorite Sombr song. And I think really shows that there's like more there. You know what I mean? Like this is his very like sad boy, emo boy, alternative era. But 12 to 12, I was like, oh, you could do like a little disco number. Like you can make some fun dance music. And I love that people are really getting into it in that way. I also think Sombr is what I love about Sombr is that he did not try to copy the Harry Styles blueprint. Every man ever tried to be Harry Styles and put on some random jumpsuit to the point where like it was annoying. And I love that Sombr pulls so much inspiration from bands, from Julian Casablancas, from the 1975, from the Strokes even. His music is more adjacent to like alternative music, rock music, than it even is pop, I would say. Like if he existed 10 years ago, I don't think we would call him a pop star. But now that's what pop is. You know, it's so all encompassing. It reminds me of like The Neighborhood even, I think would be a great example. And I think that's so amazing for young people to have now. Like they spent so much time, decades plus, like without their own teenage version of the 1975 that we all got to have, right? And like that's why I think it's so cool that he has a young fan base. You know what I mean? Like I remember that with like being a criticism of like Sombr fans are so young. Good. Like good. We had Justin Bieber and Justin Timberlake and Harry Styles growing up. They don't have that anymore. Like 12-year-old girls are fantasizing about like a 30-year-old man, and I want them to like have somebody reflective of their age and their experiences and their memes. Do a 6'7" meme. That's funny to people today. Like that, it's for them. It doesn't have to be for you. Like it can still be great music. And he's so freaking talented. Did you know that Sombr solo wrote and produced Back to Friends, and he solo wrote the entire album? There's only one person with production credits in the entirety of the thing, which is Tony Bird. Everything else he either solo produced, and the entirety of it he solo wrote, which is insane. A teenager went from like effectively 0 monthly listeners to 60 million within a year, a song with 1 billion streams. I think he just did his first like arena show. That is amazing. Like he is a very talented artist. You know, people love to talk about how, you know, it's insane that Taylor Swift writes her own music, or it's so insane that Billie, just produces with her brother and stuff. I'm like, Sombr is doing that. You know, like even if you aren't a personal huge fan of Sombr, like you cannot disregard the talent. That is something that pisses me off about the internet these days, is like when people don't like someone, therefore they are untalented and stupid. Like you can't just be like, oh, I don't really like what they're doing that much. They are like, everything about them is bad, instead of like, you know, maybe I'm not the biggest fan of so-and-so's music, but like they're an incredible singer. You know what I mean? Like that, more than one thing can be true at the same time. And that's what is really annoying me about some of the Sombr criticism, because I think he's so ridiculously talented. And if you actually like look into it, it is a undeniable, like the amount of musical talent and the way he's constructed this album. What do I think could hold Sombr back? I mean, I think what would get in there is Back to Friends. He has one of the biggest songs of the entire year. He has had again, I think he just played his first arena show. I think he is just on a rocket ship, truly. I would love if he won, because again, a man has not won in 8 years, and like we need some sort of new alternative boy for young people. Like I really think that is an important space to be filled in music right now. What I think would be holding him back is, I think Sombr has this interesting thing with his marketing where so much of it is geared around his sense of humor and him being very funny and charismatic, and, you know, like the 6'7" memes and that sort of thing. It's like very for young, chronically online young people, which we love as somebody who was once a chronically online young person. However, his music is a complete opposite perspective. It is very, very sad. It is very, very yearning. It is very, very heartbroken. And I think to a lot of people that makes them feel like two completely different things. They feel like there's this like online funny hee kid Sombr, and then you listen to the music and you're like, who is this sad, yearning man like talking about this woman and how she decimated him, and he doesn't know how to go back to being friends with her, right? And what he's struggled with is finding a way to connect the two, to be like, yeah, I am both of those things. The way I express that heartbreak is through the music, and the way I express my personality is through humor. And I think I know that as somebody who's like really studied him and studied his marketing a lot. But I think to the general consensus that it feels like when I ask people about Sombr, they feel like one of those things is fake, right? They either are like, oh, I hate the TikToks and it's so kiddie. And it's, like I wish he would just like be this musician. Or there are people who like love the humor and love that. And they're like, I don't, the yearning and the writing sounds fake. Like, I don't even know if he was in a relationship because he's like all laughing and blah, blah, blah. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think he needs to find a way to connect those narratives and be like, that is Sombr, you know? And it's an interesting thing. Again, his name is literally Sombr, like, which means like sadness, darkness. Also, I think something that could hold him back, which, I've talked about this. I think that this is a good decision. It's just an annoying, weird way that the Grammys works. So the Grammys cutoff is August 30th every year. It does not go through the full calendar year. It's August 30th to the next August 30th. I don't know exactly why that is. I couldn't tell you. That's just the way it is. Sombr, I think, knew that he had two of the biggest, singles of the year, was on a really big rocket ship. And I think that the label and him made a decision to put out a really, really short album that was only 10 songs. And I don't think was fully, not that the songs are unfinished, but I think that he would have either added more to them or just added more songs or more range in general. But they did it because the week that they did, because I think the week after Taylor Swift was releasing, which nobody can release the week of Taylor Swift because you just can't chart at all. And so they decided to just like, we're going to go with what we have, because if we go now, then it can be eligible for Grammy submissions. And if they didn't do that, it wouldn't be eligible, which is something I'll talk about with Olivia Dean later, because technically this Olivia Dean album does not count for this Grammy cycle, which is something interesting we'll get into. So yeah, I think that was like a decision made by the team. I think that that's probably the right decision, honestly. Like if I was consulting for the artist, I would be like, yeah, like it's kind of annoying and unfortunate, but like go for it. So I think because of that, the more like music critiques I've read, like Billboard and stuff talking about Sombr's album, is they feel like that there was not as much range or as much vision, whatever. The visuals I don't think were as like deeply thought out as a lot of the singles covers were. I think that's what they had to do. And so I think that was the right decision. Next, we're moving into my queen, my icon, Addison Rae, dream guest of this show. And the day I get Addison Rae in this room, you guys are going to be sick of me. Sick of me. Oh my God. I'll cry and hug and jump up and down and dress like a mermaid for Aquamarine. Are you kidding? And do a live performance of it myself. She has 13.9 million monthly listeners, one of the lower on this list, which is interesting because I would argue that she has one of the biggest fandoms on this list. And she's had massive shows. I saw her at the Greek, which is bigger than a lot of other artists can do. Her biggest song is Diet Pepsi with 591 million streams. And I'm going to be honest, when I was talking to my friends about this and made my prediction list, I didn't think Addison would get in because I thought that the sort of like music snobby critics of the Recording Academy type would not be into her. It turns out that I could not have been more wrong. They are obsessed with her. Pitchfork put Headphones On their as number 4 on their top 100 best songs of the year, which is crazy. Pitchfork is like one of the most critic-based publications, and I think she has some of the best pop production of the entire year. I mean, like the way she just had a concept and nailed it. Like every song is so exactly what, like the way the beginning of Fame Is a Gun and Aquamarine, like it's just enchanting. It pulls you in. Like it's like I can't skip it when it comes on shuffle. You know what I mean? Like it is intoxicating. It's so good. And I think she again really found this like way to do this sort of psychedelic pop, but it still remains pretty upbeat most of the time, or up tempo, or gives you that positive emotion, which is really cool. I love this sort of like trip hop, very psychedelic production coming back. Like the Maria is another good example of somebody who's like really psychedelic that I like. And I love that she found her lane, and I think she's you can see the love of Britney, but it doesn't feel like a ripoff. You can see the love of Bjork, but it doesn't feel, or Madonna. You know what I mean? Like I so clearly feel her inspirations and why she likes those artists and what she's pulling from them, but in a way that's so Addison. I think her aestheticism in her visuals are so her, and so referential of like people who grew up in the 2010s, like I did. I also think I think Addison Rae had the best live performance of any artist I have seen this year. It was insane. One, I've never seen a crowd so excited and locked in. I loved that she was just her. Like there wasn't 100 dancers, there wasn't a set, nothing. I actually think the coolest thing about the show was she did have budget for a set and she only used it for the gate at the beginning. Like there's a gate that starts at the beginning of the show before she's even on stage, like while everyone's waiting. And then when she starts, it goes away. Like she chose to use her budget on that, on something that creates anticipation. And just her raw aura can fill up the stage in such a way that is magnificent. And then Diet Pepsi ends with like the big sparks. Oh, it was the best show I've seen all year. I was obsessed. What do I think would hold Addison back from winning? I guess, I mean, I don't know. Diet Pepsi is a hit. I just think what's really tough is that there's a lot of really good female pop this year. And something that happens with the Grammys is that a lot of the times when there's a lot of really good contenders in the same sort of lane slash category, what happens is the vote gets divided and fought up amongst them, and then something else wins. Like I feel like a really great example of this was Album of the Year last year. Cowboy Carter, incredible album. I love Cowboy Carter. I made an entire video about it. But it was like Hit Me Hard and Soft, Rise and Fall of a Rose and West Princess, Short and Sweet, Brat. 4 incredible, massive, and Taylor Swift, massive pop albums, right? And what won was a country album. You know what I mean? Like it's all of if you like country, if country's your number one genre, and you're just like, I'm gonna like the country album more than a pop album, in a vacuum majority of the time, like that's when something like that will win. You know what I mean? So I could see something like that happening with pop this year because there's so many good female pop stars that it ends up going somewhere else. I also could see again too that like a lot of the Addison Rae is not for straight men. Like so is the grant like are those types of guys and people in the Recording Academy going to vote for it? I don't know. If she won, I will buy a lottery ticket. I will scream anything is possible. I will break into the old hype house. I don't know. I don't know. I would be so happy. Number 3 is Katseye. How many of you noticed? Be honest. Don't lie. How long did it take you? Yes, this is from the Gap commercial. Katseye has 33 million monthly listeners. Their biggest song is actually a tie, Gabriella and Touch, which both have 504 million streams. I was very surprised it wasn't Gnarly, which is 376 million, because I feel like that's the song that gets talked about the most and like memed the most, or maybe the biggest in the fandom. I genuinely believe Katseye got Best New Artist from the Gap commercial. I am so serious. I think that was the defining moment. Like the fact that broke the record for the biggest ad Gap has ever done in its history. There are like fan posts of it that have 5 million likes and like 50 million views. Like it was just intoxicating. It started a trend. It was everywhere. Like so many people I knew that are very casual music fans or just not into pop like that. That was their moment of discovering Katseye and being like, who are these girls serving? You know what I mean? Which I absolutely love. And I think it would be so iconic and is iconic that they had a culturally defining moment through a commercial. That's crazy. That is so rare to do. Incredible from the band, incredible from Robbie Blue and his choreography, incredible from all those girls and their performing capability, and incredible for the team on Gap for really figuring that out and taking a chance on them. Also, another thing that's fascinating and is another huge moment for them is they actually broke the record for the largest daytime set at Lollapalooza and had 80,000 people showing up at 3 p.m., which is crazy, crazy, crazy. Here is some interesting things that I have about Katseye. I love Katseye. I'm a stan. But I do think what's holding them back is the music. I think what they're doing right now is very cutesy. I think it's very concept songs. I think they're very fun, but like the talent of those girls versus the simplicity of a lot of their music is not there. Like the music needs to elevate. They're at this weird crossroads where Katseye is huge in America, much, much, much bigger than America than they ever anticipated them to be. I think they're smaller in Korea than they anticipated them to be. And what's interesting is a lot of stuff that works in Korea is these very like cutesy, gimmicky songs. So much of, I mean, they don't write their own music. You know what I mean? Like that's what K-pop is. It's very it's produced. It's very like made. Uh, and I think what we want is Katseye to have a bit more personality, have a bit more soul, have a bit more range in the music itself. But there is, I think, like maybe this friction of like what has worked for K-pop and what will work in Korea versus what everybody in America wants them to be. I think most people feel about Katseye right now is like, we love them. We are obsessed with them. I want to see them perform live, but I'm not streaming Gabriella on repeat every day. Just that's what they're going to have to overcome in order to get there. Something also that I really want to talk about with Katseye is like, Katseye is proof of why labels need to bring back real artist development. Like they put these girls in a 2-year training camp where they were dancing with professional dancers, practicing their vocals, being around other performers and artists to learn from one another, made a documentary about it. And like everybody's like, wow, they're so talented. Wow, they're so amazing. Like, yes, that's what artist development is. That used to be a thing that all labels did all the time. You can look like Google the stories about, you know, like when they signed Bruno Mars or when they signed SZA or Kendrick versus like when these people debuted. Like they would spend years like giving them training, helping them, you know, putting them in rooms with songwriters, helping them dance, helping them sing, like whatever sort of thing, crafting a brand around them. And that is something that labels just do not do anymore because it's not as profitable. It is this weird issue that happened when a bunch of the music labels became publicly traded companies, right? They IPO'd and they had stocks. And back in the day, you know, when you're a private company, you can just agree that like, yeah, so-and-so is a star and we think they're amazing. And we're going to fund them for 2 years. We're going to put them in all this dance and all this training and all these things to make them like, you know, polish the diamond until they are ready to like go out and make music and go on tour and do all these things, right? And the era of TikTok was just like quick sign, quick. Oh, they're having a hit. We have to be the first to sign them, and then they wouldn't do as well, and they drop them in a year, right? Or drop them in 2 years. Like we started to view these people as like a cycle and disposable instead of investments, instead of artists that needed to be poured into and cultivated. Like artistry doesn't happen overnight. Artistry is developed, it changes, it's very fluid, it evolves as the person evolves. And that doesn't fit into this capitalistic structure of an IPO, right? Like where you have to give quarterly reportings and you have to talk about how you made this much money. You're going to make more money next year than you did last year, right? That is this thing that has happened with labels, and it's a terrible thing with the industry of music too, because like Republic Records and like you have a Taylor Swift and Ariana Grande album in the same year. Next year, you're not going to make as much money. Like, you're just not. They're two of the top 5 biggest artists of all time, right? Like, you're just not going to make as much money. It doesn't mean that the label's a failure. It doesn't mean that they're doing things wrong. It's just like they had 2 artists released the year before that, right? And that's a good thing. But like that doesn't fit into this like capitalistic structure of the way stocks work and the way people want to invest and have this, you know, ever-growing line of investment. And that has impacted the way that they're able to develop artists and fun artists. And it's really sad. I've talked to a lot of people in music about this. I have many friends who are like executives or director levels of music, and they've talked about how they have felt that shift since their labels IPO'd, because you don't get time anymore. You don't like, you know, if the artist doesn't make enough money in the first year or two, like they got to drop them and pick someone else up. And that has made it. So I think it just sucks. But I hope Katseye is an example of this. I hope that they realize K-pop still does it all the time, right? Like they do all these trainings and things. And K-pop has a lot of other problems, the way they treat artists in other ways. But I hope it is just a sign of like the importance of development and training, because you see how well it worked. Next, we have Olivia Dean. She has 55 million monthly listeners currently. Her biggest song is Man I Need with 484 million streams. Now, this is the very interesting thing about Olivia Dean, is that technically this album, The Art of Loving, does not count for this Grammy cycle. It came out in September, and the cutoff is August 30th. So the singles that came out before, Man I Need and Nice to Each Other, which are her 2 biggest songs, which is good, do count because they came out before the window. However, technically speaking, nothing from this album should count. However, I feel like people in the Recording Academy sometimes kind of bend those rules. You know what I mean? Or at the very least, like the bias takes over. They are just so loving the artist and loving the work. And even though they know that so-and-so thing, like a song like So Easy to Fall in Love is shouldn't be counting for this. But they just love it so much and love her so much they and mentally are like adding those points in still. You know what I mean? That's an interesting thing. And again, like I don't know. I don't know how much that will hurt her. Um, I can't really say. I don't know enough. It really just depends on these random people who vote. you know? So like it could end up being one of those things where people really are like, Olivia Dean, amazing, love her. Everything she's doing is great. But this album wasn't part of this. So, you know, I'll vote for her next year, but I can't vote for her now. Or people will just not care and be like, I fucking love Olivia Dean. I want to vote for her. It is literally, I don't know. I think she probably has the most momentum of any artist on this list right now. I feel like she is just everywhere on my For You page when I open my phone. I feel like everybody is really in this process of discovering her right now. I think The Art of Loving is one of the best albums of this year for sure. You know, she just came off the tour of Sabrina, which was huge for her. And also I really see her as like, I feel like the real music lovers love her. You know what I mean? I think she's filling this void of just happy, loving music that is so great, such feel good music that is so great. But she also has these moments of real vocal power, almost, you know, some sort of like Adele inspired songs in the album that I love. I think her aura and everything about her is just magnificent. Like you just want to be her best friend. But I feel like I barely know about her as a person, which is a really interesting thing. I know she's from the UK because of her accent. I don't know much. I don't feel like she really talks about herself. She doesn't really like I just don't know anything about her as a person, what she likes, you know? Like when it comes to me like falling in love with an artist, I love a story and a narrative. You know what I mean? Like even someone like an Addison who is very publicly shit on for her first EP and all of that. You know, like I like that she talked about it. That she talked about like, yeah, people did not like that, but I believed in myself. So I am gonna push through this and do this thing. Like her interview on the podcast is incredible. You know what I mean? Like Olivia Dean, I just feel like I haven't seen as much moments from her. Maybe it just hasn't popped up on my like For You page or my recommended or whatever, my YouTube, but like that's really what I want more from her. I'm sold on the music, like all in, couldn't be more all in. But I think that in terms of like building her career as an artist, her team really needs to do a lot more to push the narrative and the story of Olivia Dean. Who is she? Where did she come from? Where is she going? Why is this meaningful to her? I don't know. You guys tell me. Next, we have Lola Young, who has 29.3 million monthly listeners. Her biggest song is Messy, that has 950 million streams. Something interesting I will say is that this album did not have that same level of impact. You know, it goes from a 950 million stream song to the next biggest song is One Thing with 120 million streams. And then I don't think any other song on the album has hit that 100 million streams mark yet. I think she is an unreal vocalist, like so much incredible power in those vocals that she isn't even like, in some ways she taps into in this album, but she could go harder than she did. But I also kind of love that. I love that she has a lot of still like British rock influence type songs on the album and stuff like that. And I also think that her getting injured and not being able to like tour and stuff anymore has a huge impact on the album not picking up as much as it did, because so much of getting people, I think, to discover the meat of an album comes through live performances. You know, they know the one or two or three big hits, but then they go to the concert and they're like, wait, what was that song again? I was dancing to that. Like, well, what? You know what I mean? And losing out on that moment, I think, was really, really big. But also with Lola, I think something that's holding her back is there's no clear branding there to me. There's no, it's hard to latch onto. You know, I don't know what I would wear to a Lola Young concert. She doesn't really have this defined like persona or style or aesthetic or color or, you know what I mean? And it's very interesting that she's at the same label as someone like a Sabrina Carpenter, who is so packaged. Like the most branded artist of all time is Sabrina Carpenter. It's why I reference her all the time, because I think she just has such a stark visual example of a lot of these things I try to instill in you guys of like what artistry is outside of just making music. And that's, I think, what's missing from Lola Young. I think her talent is undeniable. I think Messy is a song that has incredible writing too, and really tapped into these themes of feeling like a disaster a little bit, you know, and what it means to be a young person struggling through the world we're in now. But I want it to have a more holistic visual approach. I think that's what she really needs. Next, we have Alex Warren, who has 51.9 million monthly listeners. His biggest song is Ordinary with 1.4 billion streams. And I will say, in terms of overall streams, he fucking crushes everyone on this list. Like, crushes. I think he has like 10 songs with 100 million plus streams. He also did like a 2-part album situation, or was it 2 albums? I don't really get it. I just know there was one thing with 11 songs and another thing with 10 more songs that also had the first 11 on them. I don't know. Uh, was it 2 albums? Was it a deluxe? I don't get it. Those types of things confuse me. But he's massive. What's crazy to me is how many people stream Alex Warren, yet for some reason I seem to have not met a single one of them. Like, I cannot tell you one person I know in my life or my circle of friends or anyone like around me, my age or whatever, and where I am, that is bumping Alex Warren. They're out there. 51 million of you, 52 million about. I think, to me, I've given my thoughts about Alex Warren in the Death of the Male Pop Star video of like, it's just, where is the flavor? It's so interesting. Sam made a really great point in that episode, one that I have not been able to stop thinking about, where to a lot of people, they see pop music as this like manufactured thing, the glitz and the glam and all of that. And when they hear, it's just like a sultry man with a guitar, that feels more real and authentic to them. Like, they view that as real music, and they're a real musician because they don't need all that other stuff. They just sing. But to me, it's like, where is the flavor? Like, do something, anything at all. Like, have a visual, have a big performance. His VMAs was great, I will say, but that was like all the marching band and the dancers. You know what I mean? Like, do something. Like, give me something. Like, oh my God, it's just boiled chicken. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to Alex Warren's fan. I don't mean to be mean. I really don't. But like, it's just not moving me. There's nothing about it. It's this whole like derivative of Ed Sheeran, like boring white boy music that has just never ranked for me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a big Benson Boone guy. I wasn't big into Teddy Swims. I'm not even big into Ed Sheeran, if I'm being honest. Alex Warren, another example. You know what I mean? It's just like, ordinary, singing about a girl, blah, blah, blah. You want to get married. Oh, so cute. Oh, but you love her. Oh, but bad thing happened. But, I just don't know. Where's the flavor? I want some flavor. Then we have the Marias, which is, you want to talk about flavor, bitch. Flavor Town. I love the Marias. Oh my God. 35.7 million monthly listeners. Their biggest song is No One Noticed with 855 million. Something interesting is, technically, Submarine does not count in this Grammy cycle. Submarine came out in May of last year, the album, but songs like Nobody Knew and Back to Me did come out in this cycle. Like the feature Ojos Tristes on the Selena and Benny album is in this cycle. And the Marias might be the only breakthrough band that we have had since the pandemic. Like, bands do not really exist anymore. And it is so sad because you can see how important that musical chemistry is to the Marias. Like, the music is so psychedelic and otherworldly. And she has these like soft, whispery vocals that almost feel like a siren call. It's enchanting. It's almost futuristic feeling sometimes. But then they'll have these long breaks of instrumentation in the song, like Carino is such a perfect example, an older Maria's song. But like, it's just, they can like touch into all these genres and sounds. I love that she speaks Spanish in her music, but not all the time. Like, there's so much influence of culture and stuff. Like, it's just amazing. It's so good. I just freaking love the Marias. People are not into the like body of Submarine enough. Okay, your homework is to listen to the song I No Puedo by the Marias. It's on Submarine, one of my favorites. Actually, I'd like you to listen to it start to finish again, but if we're going to do one thing, that's the song I want you to listen to. Or listen to Carino by the Marias if you're just a recent fan, if you just discovered them from like Back to Me and that type of stuff. No One Noticed. God, she's so good. She's so interesting. One of my favorite things about the Marias, I saw them at Lollapalooza, and I have been telling this to a lot of my artist friends and a lot of people I know who work in music of like, she is the blueprint for how to have a commanding stage presence when you are not a dancer and when the music is very slow. That's a really, really tough thing to do, to hold the energy of tens of thousands of people when the music is very sad and methodical and slow. But watch her sets, dude. Like, find them on YouTube. The way she like contorts her body and moves around the stage, and she's so like she is so pulling. You are locked in on her, despite the fact that these songs aren't, that sort of high energy thing that might not create that within you. But like, she knows how to entrance you and how to use her body to be this physical expression of the song that's not dance. It's just movement. It's very fluid. I don't know, like it's just so interesting. I think she's such a brilliant artist to study. If you were like that, if you're worried about having to perform, or maybe you have some slower tempo songs that you don't know how to maintain the energy of the crowd for, I really, really recommend just like actually studying her stage performance and what she does. I also randomly have been saying this for so long. I want Maria to star in a horror movie. Look at that face. She would surface as like a possessed girl. Are you kidding me? She would she would lock in on that camera. Like she truly could have no lines in the movie. If she was just like a hot demon, oh my god, I would eat it up. I would eat it up. It would be so good. Get a cast A24. What are you doing? Get Maria in the horror movies. Okay, I want to see her being a cunty demon. Then we have Leon Thomas with 14.1 million monthly listeners. His biggest song is Mutt, which has 340 million streams. His next biggest song has like around 60 million mark. So again, a huge song, huge moment for him. I'm not sure as much it got as many people to pull into the album. Something I do think is very interesting to note is that he is the only one on this list to also get an Album of the Year nomination. So people really liked it. Like people who care about R&B and music and are in it and were studying it are obsessed with Leon Thomas. I think he's very much also just like a musician's musician. He's also somebody who's just like done a lot of cool stuff. I think he's been a writer for a lot of other people. He's been a producer for other people. He's just very musically gifted and always has been. And, it is really that sort of his like moment, like his mainstream moment. So I equate it very similarly to like Victoria Monet, what happened with her, where like people knew about her, people knew of her, people in the industry knew she was incredibly talented, and they knew that she was behind some of Ariana Grande's biggest songs. And then it was like 2023 when she had her moment for her music. And I feel like that's very similar to what's happening with Leon Thomas right now. Truly, it takes 10 years to be an overnight success type of story. And probably the best R&B album of the year. I think he'll win that Grammy for sure. Again, I don't know. It's tough to say. It's when you look at his numbers compared to other people, it's the sort of it's not as there as much. But again, like he is the only R&B artist on this list. And people really like him enough to, again, the only one that got an Album of the Year nomination also. So it would be one of those interesting things where it's like a big industry pick than it is like just going off raw commercial success type pick. But who is my overall prediction if I have to pick one? I mean, like there's nobody on this list that will disappoint me besides Alex Warren. But I don't think that's going to happen. Something interesting I forgot to mention in Alex Warren and Sombr too was it shocked me that neither of their songs got nominated for Record of the Year or Song of the Year. Ordinary has like 1.5 billion streams and Back to Friends is like 1.5 billion streams. Neither one got nominated, which makes me less confident in either of them is winning. Even the best new artist category. Honestly, my prediction, I feel like it's going to be Olivia Dean. I just feel like she has so much momentum right now. I think her music is so positive and feel good in a way that not a lot of other people are tapping into in the same way. I think she's such like a real music lover's music. I was so surprised at how many people had her album in the top 5 albums on their Spotify Wrapped, considering the fact that it came out in September. I could really just see her winning. I really, really could. I would love it if Addison won. I would love if Katseye won too, but I don't think they will. I don't think Lola Young too. I would love if the Marias won. Sombr or Olivia Dean feels like the most likely to me. I'm gonna lock in Olivia Dean. It's just I feel it in my soul. What do you think? What do you want? Who do you want to win? And who do you think is gonna win? Comment that below. I want to know. And yeah, don't forget to follow on Spotify. Don't forget to do all the things I said at the beginning of the episode. Subscribe. I love y'all, and I'll see you soon. Bye.